Colin, you must just switch your camera off, man. Otherwise, I will see too much stuff there. Okay, thank you. That's better. Right, good afternoon, students. It is 2 minutes to, but let us just get going. Just a few of the formalities before we actually start with our class, please. Right, guys. Firstly, you must ensure that your microphone, your mic is on mute and that your camera is turned off. Then secondly, guys, today we are doing lecture number 5, which is a follow-on on our last lecture, which was lecture 4, where we introduced the cash flow statements. And in order to follow for this, of course, now, guys, you are supposed to have a note that is marked lecture number 5. I have emailed the notes to most of you guys, but if you haven't received the notes at all, remember you must just send me an email to get the notes as well as the solutions then of today's session. But also, if you go onto the Teams, there is a icon on the left-hand side there for files, and I have uploaded the file that we're going to work on today. That information is there as well. The next important point, guys, is that you must indicate to us, guys, under the chats now. Just please forward your, under the conversations there, you must just add in your student number there for us, please. And then at the end of the session, guys, at the end of the session, you must complete for us an evaluation form. Once again, if you go onto files, okay, if you go onto files, the third one that you will see there, the third icon that you will see is an evaluation form. So we just want you guys to complete the evaluation form and please send it back to us, because as you guys know, we are quite new into our online, and we just want to see what we can improve upon in order to make this a viable option. Because as you guys know, the way we're going forward now is that I think the face-to-face tutoring will be a thing of the past, or something that may happen in the future. But for the current guys, you must please just give us some evaluation form, complete the evaluation form, so that we can see where you guys are struggling and how we can improve our system.
Can I switch off my thing?
Okay, guys. Is Tandu fine? Okay, Tandu, just switch off your camera, please, ma'am.
Okay, I'll do so.
Thank you. As well as just mute your mic for me also.
Hello.
Hello. Right, guys, we are starting out our lecture for today, guys, and we take a look at the direct method, guys. Can I just get an indication, guys? Can you see on my screen that everything is okay? Somebody just switch their mic on and just let me know.
It's fine, Wilfred.
Okay, thank you. Right, guys, we are today doing the cash flow statement, and in our discussion of today, we are turning our attentions to the direct method, if you want to calculate the cash flow from operating activities. Now, guys, in your notes, I'm taking you to page number 4. And on page number 4, when we speak about the format of the cash flow statement, Remember the cash flow statement, as pointed out to you last week, we've got three sections. We've got the cash flow from operating activities. We've got the cash flow from investing activities, and we've got the cash flow from financing activities. Now, the cash flow from operating activities, there are two ways in which you can complete it, either via the direct method or the indirect method. Your question will specifically tell you which method you must apply. Last week, I discussed the indirect method, and in today's lecture, we are going on to, and I will explain to you how to calculate the cash flow from operating activities according to the direct method. So guys, go for me to page 4 on your notes, and we take a look at the format there. The cash flow from operating activities, you must first of all calculate what is the cash receipts from customers. And thereafter, you must calculate the cash paid to suppliers and employees. So the cash receipts from customers, we can call that note number 1. So you must be able to calculate there for me that answer over there. And then you must calculate under note number 2, the cash paid to suppliers and employees. So you've got those two calculations. The difference between the two, guys, can you please just put that for me in brackets there? The cash receipts from customers minus the cash paid to suppliers and employees, that will give you the cash generated from operations. Now, after that, guys, it is exactly the same as in the indirect method. You must bring into account those abnormal income and abnormal expenses, such as dividends, interest, loans to members, interest paid, shares purchased in a listed company, drawings, income tax, and your distribution. Exactly. The section over there is exactly the same as in the case of the indirect method. The only difference between the two sections comes in with the cash generated from operations, how to calculate that amount there. Right. So I'm going to go now, guys, and I'm going to calculate the cash receipts from customers, and the cash receipts from customers, that is explained to you in number 1. Okay, you will have to explain that in a note number 1. So guys, if you want to calculate the cash receipts from customers, now you don't have this now, you don't have this, so I just want you to follow what I'm going to do here. Right. To calculate the cash receipts from customers, guys, you need to know how much did the debtors, your trade receivables, how much money did they pay you? So, if you want to calculate what did the debtors pay you, because that is your cash that you have received, you will have to construct a trade receivables control account. So you will have to construct a trade receivables control account. Right. We take a look at the information that is supplied to you. In a question, they will give you information from the statement of financial position for the 2-year period, 2020 and 2019. 2020 will be for the current year. 2019 is for last year. So we've got this year and last year. Now, the trade receivables control last year, the balance was 48,500. And this year, the balance is 59,600. This 48,500, guys, is the opening balance. The opening balance. So if you do your trade receivables control account, that will be your opening balance, 48,500. The balance for 2020, 59,600. That will be your closing balance. So go to your trade receivables control account. Balance on the credit side, that is your balance carry down. Remember, that's your balance carry down. That's your balance at the end of the financial year. So when you construct your trade receivables control account, opening balance and closing balance, you get that from your statement of financial position. Your revenue from your statement of profit and loss and other comprehensive income, that is your sales figure. Remember, the sales will increase your trade receivables control account. And our sales of 945,500 will give you the sales amount. That is the amount that my trade receivables control account will increase with. It will increase with sales of 945,500. Back to your statement of profit and loss and other comprehensive income. Look for credit losses. Your credit losses is the amount of 1,800 Rand. You go now to your trade receivables control account. Your credit losses is the amount of 1,800. So guys, just back to your statement, your trade receivables control account. We want to know how much did the debtors pay us for the year. You indicate the opening balance. You indicate the closing balance. You indicate the sales amount. Remember, this is an asset account that increase on the debit side. You indicate your credit losses of 1,800 Rand. And the balancing figure is what the debtors has paid you. So now we say 48,500 plus 945,500, and that will give you an amount here, total. That is 994,000. That on the credit side as well, 994,000. Subtract then the 59,600 and the 1,800, and that will give you the balancing figure, 932,600 Rand, and that is the amount that the debtors has paid you for the year. So guys, let me just summarize this again now for you. We are busy with calculating what is note number 1 in our cash flow statement, and note number 1 is the explanation for cash receipts from customers. If you want to calculate the cash receipts from customers, you must first of all calculate how much money did you receive from your debtors. Okay, in order to do that, do a trade receivables control account like I showed you guys now. Opening balance, closing balance, put in the sales amount, put in the credit losses if there is, and the balancing figure. That is the amount of money that the debtors has paid us. So in my example that I've got over here, if I want to know what is the cash receipts from customers for note number 1, I will say my cash receipts from customers will consist of the following. Cash from trade receivables. And the cash from my trade receivables is 932,600 Rand as calculated in my ledger account for trade receivables control account. Besides that, guys, there may be other income. Your income is not only what you have received from the debtors but there may be other income. So you go to your statement of profit and loss and other comprehensive income, and you look under your other income if there is any other income. And you can see in this example, I have got rent income, 24,000 Rand. So if I want to calculate what's my cash receipts from customers, it consists of cash from trade receivables as well as my rent income. Now, rent income, my trial balance amount states 24,000 Rand. However, go in your statement of comprehensive income and look for accrued income or income received in advance. Now, the accrued income for rent 2020 was 2,000 Rand. And the accrued income at the beginning of the year for rent was 6,000 Rand. So, how does this impact now on my cash? So if I want to know how much money did I receive for rent, I will say I'm supposed to receive 24,000 minus 2,000. Why minus 2,000? Because at the start of the financial year, there was at the end of the year, there's 2,000 Rand that we didn't get. Accrued income means we didn't receive the money. So even though we were supposed to receive 24,000, we only received 24,000 minus 2,000. So you need to know that that amount there must be converted to a cash amount. And then at the beginning of the financial year, there was 6,000 Rand due to us. 6,000 Rand due to us. So the 6,000 Rand was the accrued income at the beginning of the year. So if I want to know for rental income, how much money did I receive? I was supposed to receive 24,000. I did not receive the 2,000. That was the accrued income. So for this year, I've only received 22,000 Rand plus the 6,000 Rand from last year that was received during this year. So if I want to know what is my rent income, that will be 28,000 Rand. And my total cash receipts from customers here in my example will therefore be the amount of 960,600 Rand. And that is my first calculation when you must now calculate the cash receipts from customers. Okay, all following so far, guys? Right, so that was quite easy. So now we take a look at a second scenario. How do you calculate the cash receipts from customers if more information is given to you? And when I speak about the more information given to me now, then we will say, what is going to happen now when we have got allowance for credit losses? Right, guys, just take a look at the next example that I've got for you. Right. In my example that I've got now here for you is I've got trade receivables control last year 26,500, this year 22,600. So 26,500, that is my opening balance. Remember now, if I want to calculate my cash receipts from customers, I will have to do a trade receivables control account. The people that's joining us now, please, just remember that you must mute your mic, please. Right, so my trade receivables control account is 26,500. Guys, you haven't got this note. I'm just giving you guys an example here, and I will also make this then available to you. Right. The closing balance is 22,600 Rand. That is my balance at the end of the year. Put that into your ledger account. So you will indicate your opening balance and your closing balance. Need to get the sales amount. We need to get our sales amount. Sales amount you get from your statement of comprehensive income, your revenue amount, that is your sales amount. Pretty much the same as what we've done earlier. Your trade receivables control decrease with your amount of credit losses. So now you go to your statement of comprehensive income and you are looking for your credit losses. And your credit losses is 2,900. But guys, look at your allowance for credit losses. And your allowance for credit losses last year was 1,200. And this year, your allowance for credit losses is 1,700. Your credit losses, on the other hand, if you go to your credit losses, you will see that your credit losses expense for the year is 2,900. So guys, let me just quickly explain to you what is going to happen now. Whenever you work with allowance for credit losses, and you must increase or decrease your allowance for credit losses, the contra account, the other account that we work with, is always credit losses. So you always work with credit losses and allowance for credit losses. So in my example now, last year, the allowance for credit losses was 1,200. This year, my allowance for credit losses is 1,700. So my allowance for credit losses increased by 500 Rand. So when you go back now to your trial balance and you take a look at your trial balance, your statement of profit and loss and other comprehensive income, and you see credit losses of 2,900 there, you need to understand that 500 Rand of that 2,900. Guys, let me just quickly. Guys, once again, if you are tuning in, Zwabandu Ponti.
Yes, sir.
Ponti, please mute your mic, please. We are picking up all the noises at the back.
Okay.
Right. So let us continue, guys. Right. So the 2,900 that you see there of credit losses, 500 Rand of that is because your allowance for credit losses increased there. So you need to understand that the 2,900 Rand that you see over there for credit losses consists of two amounts. It consists of 500 Rand due to the increase in your allowance for credit losses, and only 2,400 is credit losses that was written off during the course of the year. So when you do your statement, your trade receivables control account, your credit losses here, guys, must be 2,400 Rand, because only 2,400 Rand of your credit losses applies to trade receivables. Even though your expense is 2,900 Rand, only 2,400 is attributable to debtors. The other 500 Rand is due to the fact that your allowance has increased. Okay, That's the only difference there, guys. So if there is allowance for credit losses, you need to go back to see what is the impact of the allowance for credit losses on your credit losses. So now, once again, guys, all you do is you balance this account, take your 26,500 plus the 880,700. That will give you a total of 907,200. Also record that on the other side, 907,200. And the balancing figure now, subtract your 22,600, subtract your 2,400, and that will give you a bank amount of 882,200 Rand. And that is the amount of money that we have received from our trade receivables. So the calculation of note number 1, if you want to calculate what is the cash receipts from customers, it consists of cash from trade receivables. And to calculate that amount, 882,200, you must do a trade receivables control account. Okay. Besides that, now we will have other income. In this question here, guys, rent income is our other income. So 36,000 we are supposed to receive. Go back to your statement of financial position. There is income received in advance, 4,000 and 0. So we've got income received in advance in the current year. Now, what does income received in advance mean? Income received in advance means we received money during this year for next year. Therefore, plus 4,000. We have received the 36,000, plus we received another 4,000. Even though it is next year's money, we received the money during this year, 4,000 Rand for income received in advance, and therefore, for rental income, the amount of money that we have received is 40,000 Rand. So if you want to know what is now the solution to note number 1, cash receipts from customers, it will give you the amount of 922,200. And that is the amount that will then appear in your statement of cash flows as note number 1, which is then the cash receipts from customers. Okay. So guys, I'm taking you all of that explanations now, guys, was just to explain to you how to get down to the answer for note number 1. So let us get back to the notes now, guys. In notes number 1, note number 1, remember now, we are busy with the format of the cash flow statement. Cash receipts from customers, note number 1. That is what I have just explained to you now, how to get that. A further explanation, guys, is on page 1. In the middle there, guys, I say the calculation of cash receipts from customers. The amount consists mainly of cash sales and cash receipts from your debtors, from your trade receivables. To calculate the cash receipts from debtors, construct a trade receivables control account. There's your trade receivables control account. Opening balance, closing balance, put in the sales amount, put into account your credit losses, and the balancing figure. That balancing figure, guys, that is what we are looking for. That is the money that we have received from our trade receivables. Besides that, you go to your statement of comprehensive income and you look for any other income. Like in my example, there was the rental income. However, that amount must be adjusted. It must be converted to a cash amount. How do we do that? If there's accrued income, at the end of the year, subtract it. If there's accrued income at the beginning of the year, add it. My first scenario had such an example. If there's income received in advance at the end of the year, it must be added. If there's income received in advance at the beginning of the year, you subtract it. My second scenario had such an example. Okay, guys? And that will give you the first answer when we talk about our statement of cash flows, guys. According to the direct method, the cash receipts from customers, that is how we calculate that amount. Okay? I'm going on to the next calculation here, guys. The next calculation is called the cash that was paid to suppliers and employees. Once again, guys, to do this, I'm going to give you two scenarios here, guys, on how to calculate the cash that was paid to your trade payables. Okay. The scenarios that I've got here for you guys, there's once again two scenarios. The first scenario is depending on what information is given to you. In your question, the question given to you may have a type of business that is working with a periodic inventory system. Now, let me just quickly give you this example quickly here. If there are information now from the periodic inventory system, a question on the periodic inventory system, information from your statement of financial position, guys, there's your trade payables. Last year, 23,000. This year, 36,700. Go to your statement of comprehensive income. You know this is periodic inventory system. In your periodic inventory system, you must calculate cost of sales. And therefore, in my example, revenue 945,500. My cost of sales consisted of opening inventory plus my purchases minus my closing inventory, and that will give me cost of sales of 473,800 and gross profit of 471,700. Okay. If I want to know what is the cash that was paid to my trade payables for inventory purchase, I construct a trade payables control account. Now my trade payables control account, very easy. I've got an opening balance there of 23,000 Rand. Remember now, this is a liability account with a credit balance. So I will have a credit balance over there, opening balance. My 2020 amount is my closing balance. That's the balance at the end of the financial year. So my closing balance indicated there as 36,700. This is a liability account that increases on the credit side. I'm looking for my purchases. Go to my statement of comprehensive income. My purchases for the year, 485,000 Rand. I copy that. Or I copy it, guys. You will just write it in there. 485,000 Rand. So, the balancing figure is the amount that you have paid your creditors, your suppliers, for inventory purchase. So you will take the 23,000 plus the 485,000. That will give you, balance this account, 508,000 rand, 508,000 rand. Balance that account minus the 36,700. It's once again the balancing figure, guys. The balancing figure, therefore, is 471,300 rand. And that is the amount that we are looking for. That is the amount which we have paid the trade payables for inventory purchase, which is our cash outflow. Right, guys, that's the first scenario. So in the first scenario, if you want to calculate what is the cash that you paid to your suppliers, you first of all take a look at what did you pay your creditors, what did you pay your trade payables, your suppliers, and that is for stock that you have purchased. How much money went out? You get that? You do a trade payables control account, indicate the opening balance, the closing balance, and the purchases, and the balancing figure. That is what you have paid your trade payables. We take a look at the second scenario now, guys. And in the second scenario, we take a look at what is going to happen now, guys, if they give you the perpetual inventory system. What happens now if the question is based on the perpetual inventory system? So the information given to you is they give you trade payables. There's an inventory you look for in your statement of financial position, but look at the statement of comprehensive income. In your statement of profit and loss and other comprehensive income, you just get revenue and you get cost of sales and you get gross profit, and you cannot see the amount of inventory that was purchased. Therefore, if the question gives you a perpetual inventory system, you first of all need to calculate how much stock was purchased. Therefore, you must first of all do an inventory account. So to do an inventory account, opening balance, 31,600. Put that in your inventory account. Opening balance, remember inventory is an asset, debit balance. The balance at the end of the financial year, closing inventory, 43,500. Put that amount down as your closing inventory. Inventory is an asset account, increase on the debit side, decrease on the credit side. We started the year with 31,600 rands worth of stock. We closed the year with 43,500 rand. Now, your cost of sales amount, that is the value of the stock that has gone out, the stock that you sold. And if you now go to your statement of comprehensive income, there is your amount of cost of sales. You record the cost of sales now in your inventory account. And you balance this account. So you take the 320,800 plus 43,500. That will give you a total of 364,300. Put that also on the debit side. We are balancing this account now. 364,300 minus the 31,600. And now you have calculated now the amount of stock that was purchased, 332,700. So if the question gives you the perpetual inventory system, you must first do an inventory account to calculate how much stock did you actually buy. So now we know we bought stock for 332,700. So when we do our trade payables control account, the purchases Remember, the contra entry here is debit inventory, credit your trade payables. Just change that. That must be inventory, guys. So now we have got our inventory amount. So now we can complete this now by doing the trade payables control account. Opening balance was 46,000. Trade payables, remember, it's got a credit opening balance. And the closing balance was 52,000 Rand. Copy that straight from your account there, from your statement of financial position. And the balancing figure, once again, we have now calculated what amount did we pay now to our creditors now. And if you balance that account now, you will have 46,000 plus the 332,700. That will give you 378,700. Put it on the debit side as well. We are balancing this account, 378,700 minus the 52,000, and your balancing figure. There. Just sorry guys, I made a mistake there. That was your balance there, and the balance we are looking for 326,700 Rand. Right. So guys, just to summarize that, guys, we are busy with note number 2. You must calculate what is the cash that was paid now to suppliers and employees. Okay, guys, once again, I've got Pamela here. Please just mute your mic for me, please. I can hear everything in the background there. Right. So, guys, what we are saying now is the following. The question, if you want to calculate the cash that was paid to suppliers and employees, there are 2 scenarios. In the information, sometimes they will give you the periodic inventory system, or the question can give you the perpetual inventory system. If the question gives you the periodic inventory system, then you must just do your account for trade payables, and then you will see how much did you pay your trade payables. Bring into account your opening balance, your closing balance, and the purchases is given to you. But in a perpetual system, where your purchases is not given to you, then you must first do an inventory account, and thereafter you must then do the trade payables account to calculate exactly how much did you pay your trade payables. Right, guys, back onto your notes. Once again, Pamela, can you please mute your mic? Right, guys, we are back into the notes now. And in your notes, I am on page 2 of the notes, and I am working on or showing you the calculation of the cash paid to suppliers and employees. I say this amount consists of payment to your payables, as well as the cash purchases of merchandise, or for the cash purchases of merchandise, as well as the cash that was paid for other expenses. To calculate the amount paid to your suppliers, to your creditors, a trade payables control account and or an inventory account must be constructed. Remember, it depends entirely on the information supplied to you in your question. Right. After you calculated that, then you go to your statement of comprehensive income and you look for other expenses, other payments. Now, those payments must be adjusted to a cash item. So, if you have got accrued expenses, at the end of the year, it must be subtracted. If there's accrued expenses at the beginning of the year, you must add it onto. If there's prepaid expenses, remember prepaid expenses, we pay this year or next year. So the money went out this year. That is why you must add prepaid expenses. And if there's prepaid expenses at the beginning of the year, you need to subtract. So guys, if you want to calculate now the answer for note number 2, which is the cash paid to suppliers and employees, you must calculate how much did you pay your trade payables, and then you must look for your other expenses, and your other expenses must be converted to cash amounts by taking into account these calculations. Right, guys, let me just focus on these calculations again. You've got this for me, guys, and I am now going to show you quickly how to convert these items to cash amounts here. And we are just doing an activity quickly. And in this activity, guys, I say the following information was taken from the books of Rupert CC on the 30th of June 2017, which is the end of the financial year. Information from the statement of comprehensive income. I've got rent income, telephone, water and electricity, insurance, and rates. From my statement of financial position for 2016, which is last year, and 2017, which is this year. I've got some accrued income and prepaid expenses and accrued expenses over there. Now, under your required year, guys, I ask you to do the following for me. I say there, calculate the cash amounts received or paid during the current financial year. So in this activity, I just want to see whether you can take into account the accruals and the prepayments to calculate the real cash amounts. Right. I start off now with rent income. Now the rent income amount is 29,600. So you start with the amount in the trial balance, 29,600. And that amount must now be converted to a cash amount. I've got two adjustments here that will impact on that. I've got, start always with the end of the year, income received in advance. Income received in advance means we received the money this year already. That is why I will say I have received 3,200 Rand. And when the year started, there was accrued income. So they owed us 1,250. And we also received that 1,250. So if you want to see how much cash did we receive from rental for the year, it will be 29,600 plus 3,200 plus 1,250. So we actually received, the cash amount that we received for rental is the amount of 34,050. That was the cash amount that was received for the year. 34,050. Just to go back, if you don't understand the logic here, guys, then you will see here in your notes under income, we said that if there's accrued income at the beginning of the year, you must plus it. If there's income received in advance at the end of the year, you must plus it. And that is why in that example, there are two pluses. So if you want to calculate the cash that was received from rent income, it will be the 29,600 plus accrued income at the beginning of the year, plus income received in advance at the end of the year. Right, we take a look at the telephone. What was the cash outflow for telephone? The trial balance, the statement of comprehensive income, say the expense is 15,400. But go to telephone, and for telephone, we've got accrued expenses of 2,400 Rand. That was accrued expenses at the beginning of the year. So my telephone account, I will have to add 2,400 because when the year started, I owed 2,400, which I have paid. And for this year, my expense is 15,400. So the total outflow over here, guys, for my telephone is therefore the amount of 17,800 Rand. Once again, guys, if it doesn't make sense to you, then you must go study these things here. You can see there was accrued expenses at the beginning of the year, and that was added in there. Okay, always refer back to your notes if you're unsure on anything. The next thing that I want to explain to you is what is the cash outflow for water and electricity. Take the amount in the statement of comprehensive income, 13,450. 13,450. And what does my adjustments tell me about water and electricity? There was accrued expenses of 1105. So I will say minus 1105. Why minus? Because accrued expenses means that I'm still owing the money. I didn't pay the money. So if I want to know what's the cash outflow for this year, I have only paid for this year 13,450 minus 1105. But when the year started, I still owed the amount of 985. Add that in. So if I want to know what is my cash outflow for water and electricity, 13,450 minus 1,105 Rand plus 985. Just put plus in there, guys. So my cash outflow for water and electricity is the amount of 13,330. That is the amount that was paid for water and electricity. The next one, guys, is insurance. My insurance expense of profit and loss and other comprehensive income is 22,600. From my trial balance, or from my statement of financial position, I have got prepaid expenses. Now, prepaid expenses, guys, means the money was paid this year. It is for next year. However, we paid it out this year. And we want to know what is the cash outflow. So, the statement of comprehensive income, say 22,600, but we also paid 1,860 for next year. And when the year started, there was 875 Rand of income or prepaid expenses. So if I want to know what is the cash outflow for insurance, it is 22,600 plus 1,860 minus 875. And that will give you and insurance cash outflow of 23,585. Once again, guys, if this is not making sense, I am referring you to the summary over here. Okay, the summary on page 2. If you are dealing with prepaid expenses, at the end of the year, you add it, and at the beginning of the year, it must be subtracted. Right, guys? And that will give you the cash outflow for insurance. The last one is the rates amount. In the statement of comprehensive income, rates is 18,600. However, I've got accrued expenses for rates, accrued expenses of 1,900. That is my accrued expenses at the end of the year. So when the year started, I owed 1,900. At the end of the year, I owed nothing, so I must have paid that. So if you want to know what is the cash outflow for rates, it is 18,600 plus. We also had to pay last year's expense of 1,900, which means that my cash outflow for rates is then 18,600 plus the 1,900. That will give you an amount of 20,500. That is a cash outflow for rates. Right, guys. That will give you a summary of the cash flow from operating activities according to the direct method. Remember, we're looking for two answers. We want to know what is the cash receipts from customers, which we will explain under note number 1. And then you look for the cash paid to suppliers and employees, and that you will show under note number 2. So let us now, guys, apply all of this now to a question. And the question that I got there for you is in your notes, guys. The question in your notes, we are looking at the June 2010 exam, guys. June 2010 exams. It is on page 5 in your notes. Golden Globe Close Corporation. Take a look at the information. The information given to you guys is a statement of financial position for 2009 and for 2010. Additional information from your statement of comprehensive income. There's your revenue, there's your cost of sales, dividend income, admin expenses, all of those expenses is given to you. Then they also give you an extract from the statement of changes in equity. There's a distribution to members of 22,000 Rand. There's a transfer to an asset replacement reserve. But remember, that transfer to the asset replacement reserve does not represent an outflow of money. The money is still in the business. Okay. Some additional information. On the next page, on page 6, guys, there's your required. They ask you to prepare the cash flow from operating activities section in the statement of cash flow for the year ended the 28th of February 2010, and this must comply with the requirements of IFRS, and then the cash generated from operations must be disclosed according to the direct method. Remember, the question will always tell you when they ask operating activities, they will ask you, you must know or look for the question as to whether it must be direct or indirect method. So in this question, we are going to apply the direct method. So guys, let us take a look at the solution there, or how we're going to approach this question now. Now, once again, guys, this is a financial statement, and in all financial statements, the format is, of course, of the utmost importance. So the name of the business on top, Golden Globe Close Corporation. We are doing a cash flow statement for the year ended the 28th of February 2010. We want to know what is the cash flow from operating activities. The cash flow from operating activities, we want to know what is the cash receipts from customers. And our cash receipts from customers, we will explain that. All you do is, guys, you just put a 1 over there, and we are now going to calculate the cash receipts from customers. In order to calculate the cash receipts from customers, we must do a trade receivables control account. So your trade receivables control account, you will have the opening balance of your trade receivable. So go to your trade receivable, and you will see that there was an opening balance of 298,000, and you will have a closing balance of your debtors 320,000. Opening balance and closing balance is coming from your statement of financial position. Your sales for the year is your revenue amount, and your revenue amount is 451,000. Look for credit losses. In your statement of profit and loss and other comprehensive income under number 2, you will see that your credit losses amounted then there, guys, to credit losses is the amount of 3,000 Rand. Go to your statement of financial position and see if there is any allowance for credit losses. And you will see allowance for credit losses last year was 0. This year, your allowance for credit losses is the amount of 1,000 Rand, which means that your allowance for credit losses increased with 1,000 Rand. Now, remember, the contra account for allowance for credit losses is credit losses. So even though your credit losses has got an expense of 3,000 Rand, 1,000 Rand of that 3,000 Rand is due to the fact that your allowance has increased. So only 2,000 Rand is attributable then to your trade receivables that was written off. Just make sure that you've got that one. I discussed that earlier. Even though your credit losses expense for the year is 3,000 Rand, 1,000 Rand of that 3,000 Rand is because your allowance increased. So only 2,000 Rand is due to trade receivables that was written off. So if I want to calculate what is my trade receivables that I have received, it is then the 298,000 plus the 451,000. I'm balancing this account now. It will give me 749,000 Rand. 749,000 Rand there, minus the 320, minus the 2,000, and that will give me 427,000 Rand. And that is the amount that I am looking for. And 427,000 Rand is then the cash that I have received from my debtors. So my note number 1, if I want to calculate what is my cash receipts from customers. The cash receipts from customers will consist, first of all, of the cash from trade receivables, and my cash from my trade receivables I have now calculated to be 427,000 rand. Okay. Back to your statement of comprehensive income, and you are now looking for any other income. And in your statement of comprehensive income, in your information under number 2, guys, you will see that there's no other income. Remember, in my examples earlier, I had rent income. But in this instance, there's no other income. So my cash receipts from customers is the amount of 427,000 rand. Okay. I am now going to calculate what is my cash that was paid to suppliers and employees. The cash paid to suppliers and employees, that I will explain by means of note number 2. So, my note number 2, which is the cash that was paid to suppliers and employees, will consist, first of all, guys, of cash that was paid to my trade payables, merchandise purchase. In this question, guys, we are dealing with a perpetual inventory system, which means that the purchases amount is not given. So I am going to do an inventory account first. And my inventory account, go to my statement of financial position. Inventory had an opening balance of 94,700. The inventory account had a closing balance of 82,300 rand. The cost of sales amount given to you under number 1, the information under number 1 is 122,400. Balance that account now to calculate the exact amount. So it is 122,400 plus 82,300, giving you an amount of 204,700. 204,700, and that will give you the balancing figure that you will get there, 110,000 rand. That is the value of the stock that was purchased. So now, purchases, that is inventory. We can now calculate what is our inventory amount, or we have calculated the inventory now to be 110,000 rand. This is the perpetual system. You must first do an inventory account to see what is the value of the inventory that was purchased. Now in your trade payables control account, go to your trade payables. And in your trade payables now, your creditors, you will see that there was an opening balance of 86,000 rand. And your balance carried down, which is your balance at the end of the year, was 103,200. You balance that account now. And if you balance that account, you will get 196,000. 196,000. And the balancing figure now, 196,000 minus 103,200 will give you the amount of 92,800 rand. Now, guys, let me just quickly explain to you what has happened here. This is a question that is based on the perpetual inventory system. So in a question like this, where they ask you to calculate the cash paid now to suppliers and employees, you will do the inventory account, and thereafter you can do the trade payables account. And that will enable you now to calculate what is the cash that was paid to suppliers and employees. However, in this particular question, guys, it was not necessary for you to do the calculation, because if you go to your information under number 4, additional information under number 4, they tell you there, the cash paid to the trade creditors in respect of the purchases of trading inventory amounted to 92,800 rand. So they actually gave you that amount. But it is not in all the questions that they will actually tell you what the amount is. That is why I went through the exercise here, guys, of showing you how to get down to that amount. And because this is a perpetual system, inventory account, and then a trade payables account. But just if we go back now to the actual question and the note for note number 2, the cash paid to trade payables for merchandise, that amount was actually given to you as 92,800 rand. Okay, guys. 92,800, that's the cash that was paid to trade payables for merchandise supplied to you. Right. Besides that, guys, we are now going to look for other payments as well, other expenses. So we go to our statement of profit and loss and other comprehensive income. And I see there, guys, that we have got admin expenses. So I will include now my admin expenses. So I will have admin expenses. And my admin expenses amounted to 40,000 rand. I have also got a rent expense. I've got a rent expense. Now my rent expense in my trial balance, I've got a rent expense, guys, of 14,560. If you just scan up in your statement of financial position, you will see that we have got rent expense. There is an amount of accrued expenses. There's accrued expenses for rental. So your accrued expenses for rental is the amount of 2,800 rand at the end of the year and nothing at the beginning of the year. So if you want to know what is the cash amount that was paid to rent, it is 14,560 minus 2,800 rand. Because remember, you're still owing that amount. It is accrued at the end of the year. So your cash outflow for rent is only the amount of 11,760. Remember this note, the cash paid to suppliers and employees consists of payments for merchandise as well as other expenses. But these expenses here must be converted to cash amounts. You must adjust that now to a cash amount. My next expense is water and electricity. And once again, I see there is an adjustment of water and electricity. So it must be changed to a cash amount. My statement of profit and loss and other comprehensive income has got water and electricity of 9,400 rand. However, these prepaid expenses. Prepaid expenses means I have paid the money out this year already. And this year I've paid out 3,700 rand. So that money went out. It must be added. And minus the 1,300 rand. Because at the beginning of the financial year, there was prepaid expenses for water and electricity, 1,300 rand. So if I want to know what is the outflow for water and electricity, it is 9,400 plus 3,700 minus the 1,300. So the cash outflow for water and electricity is the amount of 11,800 rand. That is my cash outflow for water and electricity. I am the process here, guys. I want to calculate what is my cash that was paid to suppliers and employees. It consists of the payment to my suppliers as well as other expenses. I'm now going down the list in my statement of comprehensive income. After water and electricity, there's an expense called credit losses. But I cannot show credit losses because no payment was made for credit losses. I only show outflows, cash outflows. The same applies to depreciation. Depreciation is a non-cash expense. No money went out. So I can't show depreciation. My next expense that I will have there is salaries and wages. Salaries and wages. And there was no expense for salaries and wages. I'm sorry, no adjustment for salaries and wages. So your salaries and wages amount that you have paid out will just be 190,000 rand. Okay, back to number one, guys. I'm going through the list. My next expense is called interest on loan. Now, interest on loan is one of those items, as you guys can recall, one of those items that we only show after the cash generated from operations. After the cash generated from operations. That's the only time that we will show that amount over there. Okay, because interest on loan is an expense that is classified as an abnormal expense. So if I now want to calculate, guys, what is my cash that was paid to suppliers and employees? 92,800 was paid to my suppliers for merchandise. 40,000 rand was paid for admin expenses. 11,760 was paid for rent. 11,800 rand was paid for water and electricity, and 190,000 rand was paid for salaries and wages. And I have got that payment there to be 346,360. That is the amount that was then paid to suppliers and employees. I will take that amount back now to my cash flow statement. And in my cash flow statement, I have now calculated the cash paid to suppliers and employees to be 346,360. And I can therefore calculate now what is my cash generated from operations. And that will give me an amount of 80,640, guys, which is my cash receipts from customers, which I've explained now by note number 1. My cash paid to suppliers and employees, I've explained that by note number 2. The difference between the two is the cash generated from operations. That is a positive amount. So I am going to show that then as my cash generated from operations plus 80,640. Now I'm going to take care, guys, of the items that I show after the cash generated from operations. There was dividend income, 11,100 in your statement of comprehensive income. Dividend income of 11,100. There was no interest income. Okay. Loans to members in your statement, guys, of financial position on top there. There was no loans to members. There was interest expense. There was interest expense. From the information under number 1, your interest on your long-term loan was the amount of 4,996. 4,996. And there was also adjustments involved. You will see that in your statement of financial position, there is accrued interest expense, 1,249. And there was no accrual at the beginning of the year. So if I want to know what was my cash outflow, what was my cash outflow for interest, my cash outflow for interest will be 4,996 minus 1,249, and I have therefore paid out interest of 3,747. That is the cash outflow for interest. We'll play on that. Interest, guys, I must bring into account the actual cash outflow. Right, the next category that I've got there, guys, remember it will work so much better, guys, if you have got the format. The next one that we are focusing on now, guys, is the acquisition of shares in a listed company. Were there any investments that were made that we have purchased in shares? And if you take a look at the information under your statement of financial position accounts there, guys, you will see that there was also no investments there. This is a closed corporation, and the closed corporation, of course, also can't have any drawings. The next item, guys, that we take a look now, guys, is what is the actual amount of income tax that was paid? Income tax paid. Income tax paid, guys, according to our statement of profit and loss and other comprehensive income, the income tax expense is 19,791. Under your information, under number 1, that is the income tax that you are supposed to pay. But we want to know what is the actual amount that was paid. 19,791 rand you are supposed to pay. However, at the end of the year, you still owe 5,027. Go to your statement of financial position under South African Revenue Services income tax credit balance, meaning that you still owe 5,027. So for this year, you have only paid 14,000 something. But when the year started, you owed SARS 4,600 rand. So you must pay the old debts, you must pay for this year, and there was a portion of the money still outstanding. Just like last week's example, guys, the income tax is exactly the same. So we will have 19,791 minus 5,027 plus the 4,600 rand. So if you want to calculate, guys, how much did you actually pay, it will be an amount of a cash outflow of 19,364. That is the cash that was paid out for income tax. Just to make sure that you are on the ball on this one, guys, just like last week, you take the amount in your statement of comprehensive income. You're supposed to pay 19,791 rand. You subtract what you still owe at the end of the year, which was 5,029, and then you must add whatever you are owing at the beginning of the year. And at the beginning of the year, you owed an amount of 4,600. And that will give you 19,364. The same method you apply to your distribution paid. The information under number 2 tell you that your distribution is 22,000 rand. So your distribution paid is 22,000 rand. Go to your statement of financial position and look for distribution payable. At the end of the year, you still owe 4,400 rand. Subtract that. And when the year started, you owed the amount of 1,400 rand. So if you want to know what is the cash outflow for distribution, it is the 22,000 rand plus 4,400, sorry, minus the 4,400 plus the amount of 1,400 rand. So your cash outflow, guys, the money that went out, we just get this right, it's 22,000 minus 4,400 plus 1,400. And your answer is 19,000 rand. That is the cash outflow for the payments then for your distribution. So to conclude this now, guys, remember now you must know the format. If you know the format, guys, it will help you just so much. So the answer that we are looking now for is you take the 80,640 plus 11,100 rand from your dividends that you have received minus 3,747 minus 19,364 minus the 19,000, and that will give you then an answer. And your answer that you will get here is a positive amount of 49,629. And now you will label this as the net cash from operating activities. Remember, if that answer was negative, you should have labeled it as the net cash used in operating activities. So guys, that will conclude the explanation for the cash flow via the direct method, the calculation of the operating activities via the direct method. Okay. So guys, just to summarize this now, remember the cash flow statement. You must be able to calculate the 3 sections: the cash flow from operating activities, financing activities, as well as investing activities. In next week's lecture, I will focus only on investing and financing activities. Today, the focus was on the direct method of calculating operating activities. If you are doing FAC1601, you must be able to do indirect method as well as the direct method. If you are doing FAC1602, then you must only do today's lecture, because in your syllabus, you must only calculate the cash flow from operating activities according to the direct method. So 1602, guys, direct method only. 1601, you must be able to do direct as well as the indirect method. Okay. So guys, that will conclude that question that I have completed now. In your section there, guys, of today's notes, there's another question that I've got there for you, and that is the FAC1602 question of the last exam, the November 2019 exam. Please give that one a try. And then I just want to say thank you very much, guys, for attending this lecture. Can you please, guys, don't forget to complete the feedback form. So just go after the session, please just go to the feedback form, guys, and please just complete that and send it through to us, just so that we can summarize and see where we can still assist you. Okay, guys, that concludes my session then for the day. Good afternoon to you guys, and I hope you guys enjoy the rest of the afternoon then. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Lesh.
Okay, Adele, we can.
Thank you.
We can close off now.
Thank you.
1 minute.
1 minute. Is there a question? Any questions?
No, sir, there's no questions. Thank you so much.
Okay, yeah, okay. I can see the work was way too easy for you. Okay. Okay, thank you. Thanks, Adele.